Welcome back to the Don't Write That Book podcast, where you can learn how to write your bestseller and own your authorship. Follow along with us as we give you an insider's view of the book industry. Now, here are your hosts, myself, Mike Michalowicz, and AJ Harper.
I have made the most absurd home building request in my life, and I am so excited. And Krista approved. So I got to give you the heads up what we're doing, AJ. The preface to this is we went to an island in the Caribbean with a bunch of entrepreneurs. And this one particular night, we're at a party and they say, we'd like to welcome our DJ. And there was no DJ booth or no nothing. So I'm like, this is weird. And the booth came out of the ground. Like it elevated and the music starts. And like, oh my God. It went on to be the most epic party I've ever been to in my life. Fast forward, I'm sitting here and I'm just revisiting this experience over the months that subsequently gone by. And I'm like, could you imagine to have a party at our house and a DJ comes out of the ground? I'm like, I want that. Well, not practical, definitely not affordable, not doable. So I keep on iterating this. Like, what would be a surprise party moment? I'm like, a disco ball. So I went to Krista. I got her a glass of wine. She drank it down. I'm like, hey, you want a second glass? She's like, not really. I'm like, you should have it. And I say, hey, here's my idea. In our basement, we have a drop ceiling. What if in the center of the ceiling, that's where we have like our gatherings and stuff, like when we have guests and stuff over, it has like, there's some games down here and stuff. What if we had and we have speakers, a disco ball that comes out of the ceiling. So it's hidden. It's hidden until we say, we got to turn this party up to 11 and we flip a switch and the disco ball comes out. And she said, if you can do it, you can have it. And I'm like, bah! Called the electrician within seconds. And he's like, we can actually do that. So it's not done. It's still in the ideation stage, but I think we're going to have a disco ball drop out of the ceiling.
I want you to just think about all of the home projects that you have talked about on this show.
Yeah.
Young Frankenstein room.
Yeah, right down there in the hallway, yeah.
You know, the podcast room. There's a
cold plunge, which I, talked about the cold plunge space.
A sauna. Orchard.
We have 3 fire pits kind of laid around, which I know it sounds so excessive. It's like, what is this guy living in a mansion? No, our home is, I think, 2,500 square feet. It's not a small home, but it's not big by any imagination.
It is big by many people's imagination.
Yeah, I take it back. For the area we live in, most houses are about 3,000 square feet to bigger. So in this town, this community, it's one of the actually more average to average smaller sized homes.
Okay. That said, you realize where you're going, right? Like,
insane.
Do you remember, like, Neverland?
Yeah, I did think about getting a cage we could put a monkey in.
Don't do that. No animals in cages.
It does feel that way.
Just want you to have a moment where you're like,
you know what it is, AJ? Now I realize is we're empty nesters, so. These rooms, it's not like we are building or expanding. We're taking our kids' rooms. I'm taking our kids' rooms and converting them to the Young Frankenstein room.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, maybe we need to have just like a reflection moment of where.
I think I do.
Where's the end? Where's it end?
Yeah. And I wonder if it's because I miss the children. Like, this is what I'm doing to kind of. So I don't have a totem to them and I walk by and I'm like, I wish Jake still lived here.
I don't think that's it. I think you love a fun project. I do.
And I do too. Yeah.
You always want a cool thing that you can be focused on.
Yeah. So disco ball. I
shouldn't really talk. I built the whole other house.
And by the way, the disco ball, based on my calculations, has to be the size of a softball. So I think people are visualizing like a real disco ball. No, it's got to be small, and I got to get 2 lights somehow pointing at it. So this is a big thing.
It's going to be the size of a softball?
Yeah, for everything to fit. It's a small space. It's not like it's a big space, But they make them that size and they still function. So I wonder if it's gonna be anticlimactic, right?
So what you have to do then is like all anticipation. You should get like fog machines.
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
Boom! Here it comes. Like so that when it finally comes, it's so funny because it's small.
It's tiny. I love that. I love it. Flow Riders, Low is playing. Low, like all the bum, 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 and all of a sudden this little baseball comes down.
That's better now. Okay, now.
And it has a squeak too. Every time it revolves, it's
Oh man. Okay, that's funny. That's funny.
All right. Today we're going to talk about your book launch. If it's only 3 to 6 months away, last week we talked about it being up to 18 months away. You're listening to Don't Write That Book. This is AJ Harper, who I'm speaking with. She is my colleague, my co-writer, and my friend, and the co-host of the show. I'm Mike Michalowicz, and the show name is Don't Write That Book because too many authors are writing that book, the throwaway, the lack of effort or interest in making something that's impactful. And gosh, the world does not need more books, but it does need more great books, and you have the opportunity to do that. AJ, I admire that you riff with me. I talk about something so silly and absurd, and you're like, "Oh, here's what you can do."
Well,
you added a fog machine to it.
Well, because it's funny funny, but I thought you were gonna do a big old disco ball, and now you're telling me it's the size of a softball. That's now it has to be the funny part of it. That has to be like the Michalowicz of it.
Oh, I love the build-up. I love it.
Yeah. I admire that you're really freaking strange, Mike. You're a weirdo with a capital W, and you are happy there in that space, pleasing and amusing yourself.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
I was sitting, because, I'm a football fanatic, in my little space down here where the disco ball is intended to go, watching television, just loving all the nonsense around me, the memorabilia, the multiple televisions so I can watch the same game in current live time, but also on a 30-second delay, just in case I miss something on the live, I can look over to the delay and have the stats in front of me. It's insane. The only person I know on this planet who is more eccentric and odd in regards to their home is Sally Hogshead.
Oh.
If you ever get a chance, she's one of my favorite authors of all time. She wrote a book called Fascinate. I think that's a pinnacle piece of work. Her most popular work actually is How the World Sees You. But I'll tell you, if you pick up a book, it's fascinating because it shows how people become fascinated with things and interest in books. And if you want to sell your books, it's got to be fascinating. And she shows you how to do it. So get her book. Well, I've never been to her house in person. She lives in Florida. But she has taken me for tours of it. And it is... what's the term when you collect animals that have passed away and you preserve them? Taxidermy, yeah. So she is into taxidermy, but of odd creatures like a two-headed snake is in her home. She has all these peculiar things. It's not just animals. There's just that just stands out because she has a couple of these odd animals in taxidermy. She has an absinthe serving device. Like, who drinks absinthe? That was from the 1700s. She is the most lovely, eccentric, awesome human on this planet. So,
I gotta say, I think that first of all, I don't have anything as great as that in my home, but I do have a ridiculously huge porch at our lake house.
Yes, you do.
Roller skate in there, and I have one corner of it completely dedicated to jigsaw puzzles. So
oh my gosh, that's amazing!
There's 4 big chairs, the table, and then I have the turny thing that the puzzle goes on, and it has
like a lazy Susan almost.
But it's giant, and you can flip it around, and the puzzle table's round. And then there's drawers inside the puzzle table so that you can do little sections and keep the pieces sorted.
Yes.
And that's an entire corner of my porch, which was intentional. And we said to the architect that I need a dedicated. This comes from years of having to move the freaking puzzle so some people can eat or something. And I just want a puzzle that's there all the time. And you know what's cool is when my authors come to do editing retreat, I leave it there so that they can participate in whatever puzzle I'm working on and help me finish it.
The absurdities of how our interests manifest. While we're about to talk about this window to launching, I'll tell you, if you want to get your softball-sized disco ball or a jigsaw puzzle rotating table, you need to have the money to do it, and you can do it using The Money Habit, brand new book that I wrote with AJ. I think it's the pinnacle of our work to this point. Check it out at your favorite retailer. I'd be honored if you pick it up. All right, so let's talk about this window, this 3 to 6 month window. AJ, why do authors get in this place in the first place? Because just last week we talked about an up to 18-month window.
We did, and right at the end of the podcast, you correct immediately. You're immediately like, no, 3 to 6 months, no. I question that. Add a month, add another month. You got it. Mm-hmm. The truth is, there will still be people who just only have 3 to 6 months. So to be clear, we're not saying, what do you do in the last 3 to 6 months?
Right.
We're saying, what if you only have from start to finish a 3 to 6 month window? What are the reasons why? The number one that I see with my students is just procrastination. And I've done it too.
Is that fear driven or what?
Yes. Well, okay, the two primary reasons are fear and / overwhelm. I think fear and overwhelm are linked. But then there's also overcommitting, and that's my Achilles heel. So it's just too much going on. So you end up with a great big plan that you then have to eliminate things off the plan. Or you didn't start soon enough. So procrastination is number one. But then sometimes people do have this short window. It's maybe their publisher wants it out at a certain time. Maybe it's related to current events. And so you're in a hurry. They're fast tracking it because there's this brief window. That could be the reason. There's a whole host of reasons that could be personal to you why it needs to get out in time. I do question most people when they tell me that. I do think most people are, unless it's coming from the publisher, I think most people are short-sighted about the release date. I think they're trying to meet, here's one that I've heard, well, it's Women's History Month.
Right, okay.
No one cares. No one cares. Right. Do something in Women's History Month next year to promote your existing book, but you don't have to line it up with, Independence Day or whatever, that special day is related to your book. Secondly, it doesn't matter if you've got your booked at a big conference and you want the book out for the conference. That's short-sighted. There's how many people at the conference? 500, 2,000? That's not nothing, but you don't have to correspond the launch with that. You can do cool things with pre-order at that event. You can do all kinds of things.
Exactly. That's how you handle that.
You don't have to have it out at that time. And then the number one reason that is the most short-sighted, and I hear it all the time, I want it out in time for Christmas. Why?
I'm going to give you a bigger reason, actually, but I like that one.
But this is what happened. They want it out in time for Christmas for two reasons. They think that there's going to be this big rush for people to buy stuff as gifts, when in actuality, most people are buying their gifts much earlier. So people say, I need it out in time for Christmas, and then they think they're going to have some sort of December release date. Way too late. Books that are designed to be purchased for Christmas come out in September, maybe even August. Definitely by October. But also, that's short-sighted too. The second reason they want that is to give it to their friends and family. Like, they're having this moment of, I really want to have this precious, here's my gift to you, my book. Print it out at Kinko's, stick it in a box, and be done with it.
Yeah. And then it becomes special. And that's an heirloom because it was the first print. I will tell you, every holiday season, all of my books sell at a higher level. There's a seasonality to it. The books that are the most popular, Profit First, The Pumpkin Plan, Clockwork, all in starting to move that way now too. There's a notable jump during the holiday season. And so what I have concluded is, because I do this, if a book is popular and it's of extraordinary impact, I will buy it and gift it to someone. I bought How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is over 100 years old. I bought the most copies of it ever this holiday season to gift to people that I think would be served by that.
Well,
but I'll give you the number one reason why people rush a book, and they shouldn't. Here it is. Because they think that if they don't release it immediately, someone else is going to beat them to the punch and their book is no longer relevant.
True. But can I back up? Just because your books have an increase, you just made it sound like you should have it ready by Christmas.
No, I didn't mean that. No, I mean, it's going to jump no matter what.
Yeah, but it's not the goal. The goal is not to have it done by Christmas.
Oh, no. Just I'm saying every holiday season, there is demand for books that are popular.
Already in existence, not new.
Already in existence and already popular.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And yes, you're right. People are afraid someone's going to jump on their idea.
Oh, it's the worst. It's like, I have this amazing idea. I'm not going to tell anyone about it. I'm going to be super secret. I can't talk about it. And I'm going to release the book. And by the way, it's so secret, I'm not going to reveal all the details in the book because I want them to hire me. Which, by the way, is the biggest flop of a book ever, is not to reveal everything.
I also think some people have 3 to 6 months because life got in the way. I've had students who had a death in the family, other things like that. It was unavoidable. We talked about big and little earthquakes on a previous episode. That's okay. So if all you have are 3 to 6 months for whatever reason, and if we haven't convinced you otherwise, so if we haven't convinced you that any of your reasons aren't worth doing, if it's so legit, I have 3 to 6, that's it. That's what I've got. Then we're here for you today.
And you can pull this off. So one of the greatest successes in modern times of books that was, quote, rushed, and admittedly, they didn't even have 3 to 6 months. They had about 3 to 6 weeks, was You're a Badass by Jen Sincero. She contacted me back when she was doing her book launch to ask some questions, and went on to sell this book that has sold at massive volumes. I wouldn't be surprised if it was over 10 million books. What's so interesting is she was kind enough to share. She said, I was procrastinating. All these things we said, all these things. And she's like, the day came that she had a publishing deal. The publisher's like, the book is due now or it's done. And she gave herself effectively a weekend. Yes, it is lightning in the bottle, but she pulled it off. And it's been an extraordinary success. Spinoffs and derivatives have come out of it. It's made a lifetime career for her over a weekend. I'm saying this is absolutely the exception to the rule, but it is doable. So I want to share our best insights on, if you're packed and crunched for time, how do you do it?
Yeah. I think the thing to talk about are what's going to give you the most bang for your buck. What should you absolutely focus on? You
know this best. I mean, you have so many authors you work with through Top 3, your retreats at Madeline Island. People can go to ajharper.com right now to sign up and join one of these events. The sprint is coming up. But a portion, perhaps many of your authors, get in the situation where they've procrastinated. What have you found to be the best practices?
Well, number one is keep it simple, which sounds like a Hallmark card or coffee mug, but
keep what simple?
The whole
marketing,
plan.
Everything?
Just go for, like in the last episode, you talked about how Andrea's been helping you limit the variability on your plan. This is even more so. Limit the variability. You're not going to do all the things. You're going to find the things that are going to be, what are the critical pieces to do? And you're going to, as exciting as you want it to be, you're going to tamp it down, because 3 to 6 months is almost no time. And go ahead.
Can we make it super practical? Like I was saying last week, if you have 18 months, 5 things is pretty much the limit, the 5 big things.
Well, yeah.
Are you
we got
suggesting
more of a list here, but I just want an attitude of
Yeah.
simplicity. Like, don't
Okay.
feel like I'm going to try and shove all the things I would do in 12 months into 3 to 6 months is what I'm trying to say.
I wonder if you flip it and said, like we say, here's the 5 big things. I wonder if you say, here are the 5 potential things now. And let me start with the number 1. Like, it's going to be warming up my own list. Okay, I can have that. I have enough window to get my list warmed up and promote. Number 2 is I'm going to ask confidants and friends to promote. Like, I wonder if you go through the list that way now, as opposed to saying we're doing all 5. I'm going to start doing highest impact, easiest lift.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And of course, before you do any of that, setting goals. So,
Yes.
what's the goal here? Am I going to try and sell 1,000 books? Am I going to try and just raise awareness? Do I, just make some choices that then inform how you choose which of those potential strategies you're going to implement. And what I would argue too is implement the strategies you can only do pre-launch. There are things that as authors we can't do anymore after the book is out.
Just give me a sampling, a little appetizer on what are the things we can't do once the book's out.
Last week we talked about revving up the sales team.
That's
Listen,
right.
They might be interested post-launch, but they're kind of not.
Yeah.
They're really focused on front list and books, specifically books that are on deck. And so your window, it's 3 to 6 months. You're still probably not going to get much of their attention, but you still have a chance. So if you have a sales team through trade distribution, you still have that. So if that's still a goal for you, you need to focus on that because that's going to be gone when the book comes out. Another example would be if you can still get media attention after your book comes out, but when a new book is out, you're more apt to get more interest in it. I think also if you want trade reviews in advance, you can always pay for them afterward. You can pay for a trade review, but if you aren't going to pay for them, and if you have to have a traditional publisher for this, it needs to be in advance. The window's gone. Once you get to 4 months out, the window's gone to get that.
I got a proposal for another episode. I just wrote down how publishing sales teams actually work. And it's so fraught with mystery and myth. I wonder if you and I separately do a deep dive analysis. You know a lot more because you've run a publishing company. I don't get it at all. I wonder maybe if minimally I just interview a salesperson from a publisher and then we come back and say, here's the inside facts. So
yeah, I would love to do that. Yeah. There are a few things that I think also there's some behind the scenes stuff, for
like what?
NetGalley, Edelweiss, these are within the industry where digital versions of your book are listed and people can read them in advance. People meaning industry folks, librarians, book bloggers, etc. And that window is pre-launch. After launch, no one's doing it.
Okay, so are you basically saying just scratch them off your list? Don't worry about that stuff.
If you still have a chance, make sure you understand what those milestones are and then hit those first, right? So, because you might realize too late that you need to get that up. So if you're at, say, the 1 month mark, it's not going to happen. But if you really legit have 6 months, hit the stuff. You're about to hit milestones at 6 months that you can't come back from. So, or that you can't access later. But,
do you have an author of yours that comes to mind that pulled this off and you're like, they're representative of what you need to do?
In 3 to 6 months?
Yeah.
I was going to mention her later. I think Vicky Lantier is doing a good job. She wrote High Agency Human, and she's actually featured in The Money Habit, by the way. I think she's done a good job in launch mode, and I have one of her. I'm going to share it in a little bit. One of the coolest things she's doing.
Okay. And is her book, High Agency Human, available for sale right now?
It sure is.
All right, let's support her. Authors support authors. So get Vicky's book. So what are some of the tactical things, and maybe it's in this list of must-dos, is there anything that she did that you noticed, like, oh, that was a good move to move things quickly?
Honestly, it was for her, it was looking at what she could do over time. So she's also, works full time.
Oh, okay. That's another pressure element.
She also doesn't have a big team. She has limited resources in that department, limited time, limited budget, all of it. And so she had to make decisions about what she could do. And then she thought about what she can do to extend the launch, which is one of my advice. I'm looking at a whole section on that in this episode that we're doing right now. But
okay, extend the launch. You mean don't make the launch just one day or 1 week, make it longer?
No. Well, yes, but it's mostly about thinking about the launch as not just that week that the book comes out, but extending it even months after.
Clear.
So I'm going to talk more about that in a minute, but I do want to say a couple must-dos that if you have 3 to 6 months. Number one is you need an assistant. You just do. If you're that crushed for time, you're not going to get it all done. And it doesn't have to be somebody expensive. It can be an intern. It could be someone at a local college. It can be a part-timer. It's just, these are people who are going to help you execute on the minutia.
Okay.
Yeah, because your time as an author, as you know, Mike, will be used up on calls, on webinars, on podcasts, on creating stuff, making decisions.
You are the brand spokesperson, and that's the one thing that can't be replaced.
Reaching out to your relationships, doing that personally. You need someone else who's tracking all the little things that need to get done and helping execute on that. I also would say, as preparation, to clear as much out of your calendar as you can. Don't think, I'm just going to tack this on to what I'm already doing. Think, what can I, at least for the next period, either eliminate or delegate and just get it off. And then get everyone around you to rally for you. This is temporary. It's not forever. We're just going to rally. And that's going to help. You're going to need more time than you think. So get as much of the calendar cleared as you possibly can. And then instead of building a bunch of new relationships in 3 to 6 months out, if you're just starting then, that's all about the existing relationships. That's rocking who you currently have versus trying to do big things with people you don't know. Wouldn't you agree?
Okay.
Yeah.
So keep it simple, get an assistant, clear out your calendar, leverage existing relationships. When you say that, are we going for an ask with these relationships?
Yeah, because they could still do some promo. They can still get involved in some way. It might not be in big ways, but especially if they're close to you. Like if I said to you, Mike, I'm going to do I'm going to do this thing. I decided on a whim, and can you help me promote it? You would find a way.
In a heartbeat, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, those people who are close to you that you can feel comfortable asking, they'll still help you. It's just not a time for you to do big things with people you don't know that well or know at all. That's all. Because now you see we're eliminating. We're just going with our core peeps, so that's less to do.
We have to have marketing assets ready, but which assets do we surely need in this short time window?
That's another thing, by the way, to do immediately, not later. If you only have 3 to 6 months, you need to update your website with your book information or create a book website. Actually, I would say create a book website. Can be very simple. Then you need any graphics, marketing graphics you're going to use on social media, in your email list, etc., and that you're going to share with others so that they can help promote that. Swipe graphics, swipe copy, a set of instructions about how people can help you. Just create all of that from the get. Just get it done, get it done, get it done. Because it's going to take longer than you think, and people need it earlier than you think. Get out of the way.
A little tactical technique is you can go on Fiverr. I think it still exists. Upwork, 99 Designs, and you can have your cover. Hopefully you have your cover ready, but you can make it look like a printed book. They can present it multiple ways. You could make sure you have pictures of yourself holding the book, pull quotes from your book with your book colors and stuff like that. You can get a lot of that stuff prepared very quickly online. I know, AJ, you hired a photographer who specializes in book pictures. What was that person's name again?
Oh, it's the dreamiest photographer in the business, John D'Amato.
Yeah, okay. We mentioned him on other podcasts too. So is there a way to get hold of him? Like, do you have a link or something?
JohnD'Amato.com. We'll put it in the show notes. John's also the photographer for Phil Jones, who you know, and a bunch of people. And he does what's called book boudoir.
That's the best.
It's the best. I still say you need him to do your collection, like your catalog, because I would love to see the whole catalog stacked up the way John sees it. He has such an eye for, it's not just the book itself, it's pages, it's graphics, it's a whole vibe.
Well, you know me, I would do boudoir myself, so you could see me in some lacy negligee.
That's not what this is. That's how you would do it.
I would totally do it, but I think my readers would finally say this guy's enough.
I have to give a little shout out to Amanda Keating. Dr. Amanda Keating is one of my alums, and she has a book that she's working on for parents who for potty training. And she wants to get James Patterson's attention, and she just did a photo shoot and sent me pictures of her on her bed, and she's fully clothed, y'all. Like, it's just a regular bed. There's nothing saucy. There's no canopy. There's nothing going on. It's just like a regular bed. Canopy. And fully clothed, with holding, like, enamored with this picture of James Patterson.
Oh, that's great.
Very, very much your style. All right. So then once you've done all that, I think create some sort of simple launch week plan that's about value. So that's not about celebrating you, but that's about creating some type of value. You are more likely to get people interested in that than if you're just celebrating the launch itself.
Yeah, I'll tell you the key words to flip is from the word me to the word you. And so much communication that I see in book launches, even if they've taken 18 months or longer to prepare, say, my book is here. This is why I want to sell what I have. As opposed to, your book is here. This is how I hope your life transforms. I want you to be wildly successful. I was sharing last week, I was at a conference back in January of 2026. And one of the people during this VIP session said they read Clockwork, and that Clockwork transformed their life because they took a 4-week vacation. Their business has become attuned to operating independently of her as an owner. And she goes, and then my mother passed unexpectedly. And she's like, I was able to fully grieve. And like, the whole room starts tearing up. I was able to grieve and be there. And I am so thankful that I didn't have a business that needed me constantly. And she goes, I wanted to thank you. And I first of all, always receive appreciation with a thank you that touches me and how grateful I was. I also want to acknowledge that, like a cookbook, there's recipes and there's chefs, and the hard work is in being the chef. So I said, giving you these ideas and strategies in print is something, but actually executing and seeing it through is significant. So I went back to the reader and said, this is your journey. This was just a guide to get there, or a roadmap, but you did it. And I think in our communications during this launch period, better be about their story. They are the hero of it. They're the one who's cooking up the recipe that you've written. And if you go into it with that mindset, I think you'll communicate so much more effectively.
I love that. So then after that is, let's now focus on what is a reader engagement post-launch plan. Since we had limited time, how can we actually make the most of the launch or do more after launch? And I think that's the next thing to do. So let's just make the most we can of 3 to 6 months, but then put a bunch of strategy into post-launch.
Have you ever seen an author that totally flubs the launch because they didn't give themselves enough time. The book doesn't move at all. But then they go into the process of this extended launch, of sticking with it, and the book turns.
Trying to think.
I know with just my own experience with Toilet Paper Entrepreneur, I just went in so ill-informed and so ill-prepared. It still moved during the launch week, ultimately hundreds of books, maybe even it breached 1,000, which is pretty significant or extraordinary. Yeah. But I'm wondering, there's got to be authors that came out and it was like a 0 book launch.
Oh, well, I mean, we did do that whole episode on books that tanked.
And then that's right. And they got reinvigorated. I wonder if it's attributed to the author not giving up on it.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Because people have this mistaken idea that they have to achieve something at launch. First of all, they don't understand what to expect from it. They don't understand how books are sold. So now they have this warped idea. They compare themselves to others on top of that. And so the knowledge, the misinformation, disinformation, ignorance combined with comparison has now set them up so that if they don't achieve that, they figure there's something wrong with them, with the book, or they're just not cut out for it. And so then they're going to quit, which I talk about a lot. And I think you can always reinvigorate a book. You can always get it selling. It's just that most people either don't realize how long a game publishing is, or just don't want to be in it that long.
I think a mistake that authors make is they don't appreciate that a book is a product. I used to sell computer services, and when I started my company in 1996, I didn't start that company in that first week say, where's all the business, all the sales? They should all be here, and I'm never going to try to push this service again. I'm just going to sit back now because it didn't work. Every day you're out hustling, and sometimes your offer has to meet a need, and people don't have a need during your launch week. So in any other product or service, it's the long haul, and the book is the same thing. So I think we have to change our mind shift there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have something cool happening on April 8th. Is that true?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure we're going to just do a pause because sometimes y'all turn us off.
Don't turn us off. No, but don't even say this because they're not going to skip this part.
No,
AJ.
I'm going to tell you real cool. This is a thing I'm only doing right now. So I have, I do mastercrafts, and my mastercraft season is pretty much now through May, where I do these super deep dives on craft. And so even if you can't do my big program or my editing retreat, you can come to this 3 or 4 hour class and really learn one area very, very well from me. And it's in a workshop environment. So we're doing the work together, and I love doing these. April 1st, I'm starting a 2-part series. So the first part of the mastercraft is about the art of the interview. So I've done over 1,000 interviews for books. And the goal of those interviews is to pull stories, insights, yes, but mostly stories. And there's an art to that. And I don't know if you remember, Mike, but I used to lead those calls in the beginning of our working relationship.
Yeah, I do remember.
Then you learned how to
the process, from you.
Oh, now you lead and I fill in at the end.
Yep.
But it does take time to learn how to listen for it and what to ask.
Correct. There's no question about that.
So on April 1st, I'm doing the first part of the series is how to do the interview part. And then later in May, I'm doing what do you do with the interview when you get it? So it gives people time to go practice what I teach them, get some interviews, and then come back in May and let's work with them.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. And then on the 8th, I'm doing, probably this is the thing 8 people ask me about the most. We did a whole podcast episode on this. I created the new kind of conclusion for prescriptive nonfiction, which is called greatness. And I'm teaching a deep dive. How do you actually write a call to greatness?
Yeah. And those are so powerful. It's interesting how many readers of the work we've done together contact me and say, I want to talk about your dad's story at the end of All In or something like that, which is a part of the call to greatness, and how impactful that conclusion has to be and how it can set the tone for their life beyond the consumption of your book.
Yeah, and that's that we call in T3, we always say the Helen Fuller Call to Greatness. And I teach, how did that come to be? How
Yep.
do you structure it? What's the
Yep.
pacing of that? What are the requirements of that? I still think that's probably the best Call to Greatness ever, is the Helen Fuller.
I think it is.
But I'm most people want to know, how do you build that? It's funny, I was talking to Scott Todd. He's one of your simplified authors. And
He's awesome.
He's also one of my alums. And he was saying how he notices now when he reads books, how boring the conclusions are and why the Call to Greatness works so well. And I did invent this, so I just have to tell you guys, most editors don't think like this, but that's okay. They'll come around if you explain the reason behind it. So on April 8th, I'm going to teach how to do that.
Agreed.
All right.
That is so important. A little Scott Todd story. We had, and this is what's unique about Simplified. So this is an imprint I have with page 2. We are seeking entrepreneur authors. And not that you have to be an entrepreneur per se, you likely are, but you write for entrepreneurs. Well, Scott Todd's working on a book, and so is Brian Harriet and Joey Coleman as some of our authors. I need to, after our event, I got to get out of Dodge and get to a podcast I'm doing with Hala Taha outside of Austin where we're meeting. And I can't get a Uber. Scott Todd is pulling out of the parking lot. He's like, hey, you need a ride somewhere. I'm like, if you don't mind going an hour out of your way. And in the car is Brian Harriet and Joey Coleman. And everyone's like, you know what? Let's do this. We get more time to talk together. Poor Scott Todd, we assaulted him. Joey Coleman, if there's ever a guy who can do improv comedy, it's Joey Coleman. But Harriet was into it too. We're saying, like, someone dropped a very filthy word, like one of the top filth words. And we're like, and it may have been me. And then I said, by the way, that's not normally language I would use, but I know that's what makes Scott Todd feel comfortable. So that's why I'm doing this, because he's the one who taught me this. And then Joey's like, Scott Todd is filthy. And he is such a nice guy. He would never use that language.
Never.
For an hour. We wrote on him saying that's all the language that he uses. So if Scott, if you're listening in, I apologize, but I kind of don't.
He must have been so red. Oh my gosh. He's such
Joey Coleman had to jump out of the car, physically jump out of the car. He couldn't handle the language that was attributed to Scott Todd. All right.
But I also want to point out before we move on that the Money Habit also has, I love the Call to Greatness and the Money Habit, which is available
the tinnitus
for you to purchase. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go. But there's a little reference to tinnitus or tinnitus. Okay, let's talk. You said the extended launch, and there were some activities around this. Again, could you define what that is?
Okay, so this is where I think the real gas is when you only have 3 to 6 months, is to move into more like a slow launch. So I did this with Right on My Street. I think I both procrastinated and life events got in the way. And then honestly, I got a little frustrated with having the kind of launch I had designed. So anyway, I was behind the 8 ball. What I did was extend some of the things I wanted to do during launch week or the lead up. I just did them after, and my book came out in May. So I did a summer launch. So I did the regular launch week stuff, but then I did an extended thing for 3 months. And I had some programming, I did a challenge, I did all sorts of things. And that actually was really effective, and it helped us calm down a little bit about the urgency. And I actually think it worked really, really well. So you could create a salon or a speaker series or a training series or something like that, okay, you have the launch week and then you're extending it and everybody knows it's part of the launch for 3 months or even 6 months if you want to, but I think 3 is a good number, where you have a series of events that are planned that keep the book alive, almost like the launch mode is continuing, maybe not in extreme intensity, but it's to celebrate the new book. You could also do a month-long or longer challenge after the launch. You don't have to do it leading up to the launch. So some things you can just, instead of doing them before, do them after. This is the thing I teased. This is so cool. Okay. Vicky Lantier, High Agency Human, which I gotta tell you, that book has changed so much for me. My perspective about what I can do to make sure that I maintain agency despite life events. And I love that book so much. But she's living her book for a full year and documenting it.
Oh, that's cool.
So you could do that. Like, you think of something, you don't have to just make it all about the lead up to the actual release day. You can modify it. And by the way, if you did do 12 to 18 months, you could still do this stuff. But let's just say you have 3 to 6. Let's shift to post-launch strategies. Vicky, you can go to her social media. We'll put the links in the show notes to see what she's doing. For a full year, she's living her book and documenting it.
With my books, Profit First, every quarter, we ask people who've read Profit First, what are you doing through profit distribution? Encouraging them to share that. And that triggers conversation. What do you mean you have a profit distribution? Why are you doing this? And Profit First may come up in that conversation. Clockwork's the 4-week vacation. What'd you do on this year's 4-week vacation? So we take elements of the book that recur and then have people talk about it. So that's another strategy. All right. Anything else on this topic?
No, I think we covered it. You can do it. We don't want you to do it in 3 to 6 months. But if you have to do it, it's possible. And just shift most of your focus to what you can do post.
Yeah, geez. Like hit pause on the podcast and start working on your book. Oh, actually, I take it back. Clear out everything else. Schedule for you to be re-inspired about your book every day. Listen to every podcast episode we've done. So binge this maybe once a day, listen to one episode, and then get to the work of your book. Next week, we're going to talk about how to be a profitable author, what to do with the money you earn from your book, AKA use a money habit. Also, just as a reminder, go to ajharper.com and you know what's there. Free resources, tons of tools. You can subscribe to AJ's programs. They are nothing short of phenomenal. Our website for this podcast is Don't Write That Book, DWTBpodcast.com. So DWTBpodcast.com. But I do have one major favor if you're not skipping through this. Right now, would you please rate and review the show as whatever you feel is appropriate for us? What that does is it gives more exposure to our show. And we have a very committed, loyal community, but it's small. And we think there's other authors out there that have yet to discover the show. It would be honored if you support us with a rate and review. And emails if you do that, just so we can give you a shout out and thanks on the show. Any questions you have, email us at hello@dwtbpodcast.com. Adela's work was monitoring that. And if you want to be a simplified author, you can tell her that, and she can get a conversation going with you. Thanks again for joining us for today's episode. We'll see you next week because we're going to make you profitable. But in the meantime, remember this. Don't write that book. Write the greatest book you can.